Natsuki Subaru is the greatest protagonist in all of anime and manga. That isn't true. Well, to you at least, the person watching this video. Or maybe you're like me and have an unhealthy, crippling obsession with ReZero and Subaru in general. Pretty awesome if I do say so myself. But moving on. Over the past couple of months or so, I've seen a sort of change in the type of anime and manga I've consumed and enjoyed. While I used to enjoy and experience more of the thematically rich dark fantasies, action-packed unrealistic shonen, and magic-themed series, nowadays it's been much more enjoyable and easier to digest somewhat realistic anime manga like Haikyuu, Hajime no Ippo, Holy Land, Hyoka, and Rainbow. Or it might just be that I've been gaining a soft spot for sports and slice of life genres, but it still stands that over this period of time I've considered a change and even had a change of heart for a few of my favorite series, with a decent amount being either replaced or overtaken. Except for the series that holds my number one spot, ReZero. If you've known me for quite a while, you'd know that for almost forever, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was my favorite piece of media, and it stayed that way for a long ass time. But after finishing ReZero Season 2 and currently reading Arc 5, I've come to lean more and more towards the series as my undisputed favorites, and the reason for that is probably because of my deep personal attachment to the incredible and also so relatable main character of the show, Natsuki Subaru. Subaru is, as many of you may know, my favorite character of all time, and for a while he was even the avatar for this channel until I got my own channel art. I just find his relatable nature, how he strives to always protect everyone closest to him, his self-improvement journey, and how he learns to stop hating himself profoundly incredible and interesting. So I thought that in today's video, I just want to briefly talk about my perspective of his character and what lessons I've taken away from his journey throughout the world of ReZero and towards loving himself as a person. Spoilers for up until the end of Season 2 Part 2, I hope you enjoy. I think to first understand Subaru at his core and what he's like at the start of the series, we have to look at what he was before being summoned into and exposed to all the abnormalities of the world of ReZero. Natsuki Subaru was born to Kenichi and Naoko Natsuki, two normal, run-of-the-mill parents and generally minor characters, but despite this, they play a huge role in Subaru's character, like any parent would to their child. He grew up idolizing his father, and during the very early days of his life, Subaru excelled at almost everything. Athletics, school, social skills, and popularity. He was certainly up there, and it made him happy, as it would make anyone. He was proud that he was doing well in most fields of his life, as it made his parents happy, and he was even more proud that his excellence led him to be compared to his father, the person he idolized, who was generally loved in the community and seen as a positive presence. But as he grew older, he saw a change in his abilities and his skill level. Going into the higher years of elementary and entering middle school, Subaru began to notice that he was no longer the top of his class, the best at track and field, and not the most popular kid in the class, and this led to him not being praised as his father's son anymore. But unlike where some would work hard to push past this difficulty and study harder, train more, and make more friends, Subaru didn't. I personally believe that he thought himself to be no longer worthy of being the son of Natsuki Kenichi, as he wasn't naturally good at everything like his dad. He wasn't his father's son, and this made him feel insecure and somewhat worthless. This led him to do very bizarre and questionable things, doing everything he can to attract attention regardless of the consequences, as he wanted to be the center of attention, not as Natsuki Kenichi's son, but as Natsuki Subaru. Seeing that being naturally good at everything was impossible for him, because of his pride, he wanted to attract attention for being himself, and these schemes were what needed to be done in order to accomplish that. But as he continued in his quote-unquote delinquency, to keep the attention he was gathering and his false friends that followed him, his actions kept getting worse and worse, and even more bizarre. And before Natsuki Subaru knew it, he was all alone. All those people that followed him had left either out of boredom or fear of getting into trouble for associating themselves with him. After this, it dawned on Subaru that he wasn't actually being himself and that he should have worked harder at the things that actually mattered. He hated the fact that he made those poor choices and began to resent himself for doing that. He began to hate himself for not being like his father. This was the beginning of the downward spiral of Natsuki Subaru. I think that many could relate to this theme of being in someone else's shadow, the dangers of comparing yourself to others, and trying to break free in it, but in the wrong way. Growing up, I certainly wasn't as outgoing or charismatic as some of my other family members, and you could even say that I was a teeny tiny bit shy, and it was pretty awkward being with these sociable, charming people when keeping up conversation with strangers for me was hard enough, let alone making a lot of friends. Luckily, I didn't try anything immature or unwise to get over this awkwardness, and lately over the past 2 years I decided to improve upon my social skills and approach people, keep conversation, and try to make new friends. I really love how through this part of Subaru's past we see the importance of being and loving ourselves to the point where it doesn't matter how good someone else may be at something, all that matters is that we did our best and didn't give up. And in turn, how it shows just how dangerous giving up and not trying are, and the loneliness that accompanies seeing yourself as less than you actually are. People treat you like how you treat yourself, and Subaru treated himself not as a good, hardworking person, but as a fool, doing controversial things to impress people that didn't even care about him. After this incident, Subaru was certainly lonely and saw himself as nothing special. Comments like, "You're just like your father now," only began to hurt Subaru, but his admiration for his talented father never left him, creating this very toxic mindset as, because of his deep admiration for his father, his desire to be like him, realizing that that was impossible, and the thought lingering in his mind that he was unworthy of being Kenichi's son, led to Subaru doubting and hating himself for being incompetent. This loneliness continued into high school as, because of his inability to be himself and his still present outrageous actions as a desperate attempt to be like his incredible father, led to him being ignored and treated like a class clown. Subaru was deeply hurt by this solitude, and one day, out of a lack of interest, he skipped school, and in due time, that one day turned into another, which then turned into a week, and then a month, and eventually he just saw himself not going at all, forgetting how long it had ever been since he went to school. Natsuki Subaru didn't go outside, he didn't have any friends, and he didn't do anything meaningful each day. He had become a shut-in. Subaru now pretty much lived life on autopilot, as it was easier. He could just ignore the fact that his life was in shambles and just continue on doing nothing. But deep down, he hated himself for passing up so many great opportunities, not making any friends, not going to school, not living up to the idea of being his father's son, and being in his mind worthless. But to deal with and process with all of that negativity it's hard. So Subaru he didn't think about it at all, and he just lived without actually living. Escapism is something many people do, and I myself am guilty of that. Some situations are just hard to emotionally and physically deal with, and sometimes it's just easier to immerse yourself in something else and escape. But at the back of your mind, the fact that the situation is still there and that you should be doing more to change that still remains, and it hurts even more. I can personally very much relate to that, and whether it being a good or bad thing, escapism has always somewhat helped me through hard situations, but there was once a time where, and I touched on this situation in my most recent video, where I had nothing to escape to, and even things that previously made me happy didn't matter anymore. All I could do was continue on living on autopilot, watching the days pass, and live without actually living, just like how Subaru was. But that changed for me, and it seemed like things were about to change for Subaru. Natsuki Subaru was summoned to another world, the world of ReZero, in the capital city of Lagunica. Subaru saw the summon as a once-in-a-lifetime chance to change his life and become a hero of this new world. But very much to his disappointment and surprise, that was impossible. Natsuki Subaru was once again proved that he was nothing special. He was just a normal, ordinary teenage boy trying to become a better person and love himself. Which is okay. It really is, but that normal Natsuki Subaru couldn't kill witch cultists with magic, couldn't fight dragons, couldn't compete with the combat abilities of royal knights, and couldn't save Amelia and everyone else he cared about without suffering so much and dying over and over again, letting the cycle repeat with his return by death ability. I think many of us often find ourselves in depressing situations or bad mindsets, and I've mentioned earlier that sometimes we just try to escape through something else and forget about what's bothering us, as there is nothing special that we can do about the situation. We may not be the most headstrong, the most brave, and the most courageous, but there is one thing only we as individuals can do, and no one could ever take that away from us. That is trying over and over again, never giving up until we get it right, and that's what Subaru didn't realize. After experiencing the extreme, cruel hardships of the world of ReZero and the suffering that accompanied saving Amelia, Subaru internally hated himself for not being able to do more and let those around him die as much as he did in the previous loops, and held himself responsible for letting them die, which caused him to carry a heavy burden. Yet, there was another opposing conflict, as Subaru wanted to be told he did great and that he should be praised above all else for saving everyone and for getting through all that suffering. But the people he saved didn't know that. They didn't know of his previous constant deaths, and they didn't know of all of his suffering. Natsuki Subaru was once again lonely, and he broke. These two conflicting ideas in his head of self-loathing and self-praise came to the surface, and he ended up in a very horrible situation. He embarrassed himself and Amelia in front of the kingdom's most important people, and was once again shown that he was nothing special after being beaten by Julius. All Subaru wanted to do now was run. Run far away from all of this, from Amelia, and put an end to his suffering and loneliness. But what Subaru didn't realize was that he wasn't actually alone anymore, and fortunately he had someone to bring him back to himself. Through this confrontation with Rem on episode 18, it was brought to life by her that Natsuki Subaru was in fact something special, as he was her hero and there was something only he could do, something he always did. He could try. But after all of the embarrassment, all of the pain, and all of the suffering, could Subaru really try again? Yeah, of course he could. Subaru could start again from zero and try to be a better person, no matter how long or how many tries it takes, as long as he gradually, every day, tried to better himself and help those around him. It was alright. Many young people, and actually just people in general in this modern day, often get scared when they make a mistake and believe that there is no going back, because of a fear of being judged and cancel culture. But I think what we can take away from Subaru's case is that it really doesn't matter. We can always try to become better people, and it can be made a reality. We can start again from zero no matter what, and it'll be alright if we try. Thus, the entire idea of cancel culture and shunning someone out is just ludicrous, really. People make mistakes. No one is perfect. We may do something horrible, something outrageous, and believe that there's no turning back, that we're done for. But if we learn from those mistakes, accept that they're there, and move forward knowing that, then that truly is becoming better and maturing, which is infinitely a better action than shaming someone on Twitter for a comment they made 6 years ago when they were 12. You can always start again from zero and become a better person. That will never change. Through Rem, Subaru realized that he was indeed loved and appreciated by many people, and that it wasn't like him to run away. There was going to be plenty of hardship ahead, but he could face them, because he was Rem's hero and because he could rely on her. Subaru's burden was somewhat lightened. He was able to be honest with himself, and he got the praise he thoroughly deserved. Subaru was able to appreciate what he had done so far, and in doing that, he was able to courageously charge forward and lead the brigade against the White Whale and witch cults, eventually saving Amelia and starting over with her, appreciating her thoughts and concerns, and not seeing her as a prize. Season 1 of ReZero ended with Subaru succeeding and being surrounded by his loved ones, all because he tried and didn't stop trying. While I personally think Season 1 of ReZero is about starting again, trying no matter how much you suffer, and learning to rely on others, Season 2 is virtually about the same things, but taken to a whole nother level with a stronger portrayal of the idea of loving yourself. I won't waste much time on recaps, but in Season 2 Part 2, Subaru is pretty much utterly broken. As with the only person he can rely on, Rem, being gone from his life, and the two people he trusted the most betraying him, Subaru began a cycle of self-sacrifice, with the idea in his mind that it was alright for him to feel pain, loneliness, and to suffer, and he would even deliberately put himself in situations that would cause that as long as it saved the ones he loved, as he didn't matter. He hated himself for wasting so many opportunities, not being able to save Rem, trusting the wrong people, and dying over and over again. So he just die over and over again, suffer over and over again, be alone over and over again, because he was worthless. But at least in his mind, he was trying to save his loved ones. In the episode that Echidna, I'm really not too sure if this is the final episode or not, but when she offers Subaru her eternal contract, I think Subaru's rejection of that offer and the other witches convincing him not to take it is the ultimate culmination of the fact that self-sacrifice is not the way forward, but instead it is self-love. Although not at the time, I can very much relate to the idea of sacrificing yourself for the ones you love, and that it's alright to suffer as long as your loved ones are fine. This was my mindset, and I still have remnants of it today for the longest time. I would distance myself from people I really loved with the idea in my mind that I wasn't good enough for them, that I was bad for them, and hanging around me would only cause them pain and suffering, and I would be fine with that loneliness, even if it was eating me up inside, as deep down, I wanted to be with those people. I wanted to smile with them, laugh with them, and have fun with them. But I couldn't, because of my self-sacrificing mindset and because of my self-loathing nature. Although I'm not yet comfortable to share the specifics of my situation on the internet yet, I was able to mostly get out of that toxic mindset, and it was because, just like Subaru realized, even if you do hurt yourself for the sake of your loved ones will hurt if you're in pain. Thus, it's a fruitless cycle, really. I was brought back by my friends and family, and I am eternally so grateful for that. And like Subaru, I too started again from zero, strived forward, and currently I'm doing my best towards becoming a better person. Subaru had other people he could rely on, that he could share his burdens with, and people that he could reach out to. He had people that could care about him. This is probably best shown through him telling Otto of his return by death ability, as he finally reached out and asked for help about the one thing he believed he could never share with others. And it's with this we learn that it's okay to be hurting, it's okay to reach out and ask for help, and that you shouldn't be afraid of being seen trying. And this idea is as well shown incredibly through Subaru's forgiveness of the Witch of Envy, Satella. Satella was in Subaru's mind the person who caused all of this pain, but as his perspective broadened and as he came to see things as they truly were, he realized that she was just doing what she thought was best for him, as she was the reason he met all of those people he loved, and she was the reason he was able to save all of them, because of the ability she granted him. Subaru realized that she too was doing her best for him, and that him hating her caused him pain. That's why, just like with everyone, Subaru decided that he'd save Satella, because she saved him. Season 2, Part 2 of ReZero doesn't focus much on Subaru's character as the previous seasons, but instead his actions. He relies on Otto, Garfield, Rom, Puck, and Byuko, and through this companionship he is able to save everyone without dying, and to do it with a smile on his face, happy and not in pain. And this all wouldn't be possible if he didn't try. The final scene of this action-packed season probably can't compare to everything else in Hype Factor, but its simplicity and subtle excellence are truly commendable. Subaru finally becomes a knight, and to celebrate, he dances with the one he is in love with, surrounded by those he loves. This one small scene, almost insignificant in the grander scheme of events in the series, is the result of all of the hardships, all of the pain, and most importantly, all of Subaru's hard work, as he tried. It's okay to feel pain, but don't think it's okay for only you to feel pain. Rely on others sometimes and try, no matter what, and trust me, it will get better, and you'll smile, just like Subaru did. The biggest lessons we as viewers, I personally believe we can take away from Subaru's character is to love ourselves as the ones we love us back, and don't want us to compare ourselves to others, as we are already as amazing as we can be to them, so we don't have any need to become something we're not, and when we feel pain, they do as well. That it's okay to be seen trying and perfectly normal to start over, no matter how long it takes. That sometimes people we think aren't doing enough and are only obstacles in our life are actually doing what they think is best for us, and that we should try to understand and forgive them. And that finally, we don't need to sacrifice ourselves for someone else, as that would only hurt them more. All we need to do is try, and try with those we love, and I'm sure everything will turn out alright. ReZero will always be one of my favorite series, and one of the reasons for that is because of how much I've taken away from it as a person. Right now, I'm really not too comfortable with going into the specifics of what I went through, but I'm sure that one day I will, and I want to make a video on how ReZero saved me as a person. And I think the first step towards that is this video on a teenager who just wants to get better, and who also happens to be my favorite main character of all time, who I personally believe is the greatest protagonist in all of anime, manga, and just fiction in general. Natsuki Subaru. I truly do hope that this video helped you. Yes, you amazing, awesome, incredible person watching this in some way, shape, or form. That is about it for me today. Recording this was so... Dude, I recorded this after class and I'm just... I'm out of it, but I hope you all have a blessed rest of the day. Take care, and I'm out. Peace!